Here is Fox News talking about Kash Patel. Again, Kash Patel was a staffer for Devin Nunes. Remember back in the day, Devin Nunes at one point jumped out of his car in the middle of the night to run to the White House because he had to have a conversation with Donald Trump about something that ended up being secret. Nunes was hiding back on some of the intel. I think he was on the intel committee. He was hiding back on information. Then when he left Congress, I think he resigned early and was hired to run Trump's media venture. Interesting dynamic. Kash Patel was on a secret mission to find dirt on, on the Steele dossier or whatever it was he was trying to do ostensibly in London. We know that, ultimately Rudy Giuliani was also on a tour to look for dirt and this and that. And then Patel was ultimately named the
chief of staff for the acting Secretary of Defense. Trump had fired Mark Esper in the week after the election results came in. So it was basically because Esper wasn't going to go along with going after basically anybody who said that Biden legitimately won the election. So Trump appointed Christopher Miller, and then also Kash Patel was promoted to be his chief of staff. So his rise coincides with the election denialism, and that's the kind of person he would be as the head of the FBI.
But here he is being considered refreshing by the folks over at Fox.
Here's another reason why people are scared. Listen to what he says he'll do on day one if he becomes FBI director.
The biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and rapists and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for the next government promotion. Looking for the next.
Pause it. Are they in a bar? Yeah. Wait, go back to that last frame.
This is the Sean Ryan show. So,
I see. Okay.
I mean, we've gone over this, that the conservative media apparatus performs their masculinity by always making sure that they're in leather couches, sometimes mahogany backgrounds, and drinking brown liquor, or else you don't know that they're straight men.
It'll be interesting to see that if he, shuts down the Hoover building. I mean, I'm not necessarily about that, but I have a feeling he's not going to be doing those things. It's going to be interesting to see what the excuse is. Yeah. I suspect what he's going to be doing is instead turning those 7,000 people on citizens or prosecutors or justices, according to him, who he doesn't like that they're not pro-Trump. And I suspect that he's going to be pointing them towards people who might be protesting against Trump. Maybe it's pro-Palestinian protesters. Who knows? And I suspect that we're going to hear from some of those 7,000 people who go there's some really effed up stuff happening. But let's hear what he continues to say.
Rapists and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for the next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government.
That's Kash Patel on the Sean Ryan show. That is, in my opinion, very refreshing to hear. That is very dangerous for others to hear, and they've responded like that, calling him, in fact, unqualified and dangerous. But to me, he also represents consistency. If you see the people that Donald Trump has appointed to his cabinet, the common thread, from Pete Hegseth to RFK, from Tulsi Gabbard to Brendan Carr at the FCC.
Pause it for 1 second. I got to say, it sounded like he was gonna say it's all some type of sexual assault thing, but he widened the scope. All right, so fair. Let's go again.
from Pete Hegseth to RFK, from Tulsi Gabbard to Brendan Carr at the FCC, to Kash Patel, to Dr. Jay Bhattacharya at the NIH, is that they all represent what would have been black sheep over the last 4 years, people marginalized and called conspiracy theorists.
Freaks.
But today what they represent is true disruptors.
True disruptors. That guy, Sean Ryan, was that the show he was on? Yeah. Apparently, someone just said to Google him, apparently he was a former SEAL who became a drug runner until he found God.
Sounds like a black sheep.
We played a little bit of him because he interviewed Tulsi Gabbard and was doing a whole hype video about her in particular. So that's the kind of media that he participates in.
I mean, first off, these disruptors, like, how were things disrupted last time that Donald Trump was president? And is it like it remains to be seen how these disruptions are going on. And if you can just disrupt the functioning of government for 330 million people and it all just work out. But this is the sentiment. I think that there's a lot of people, because they don't, this is the sentiment I think that people are interested in. It's like, you come out of COVID, you help people out, a lot of millions of Americans. You tell people that you help them with their children. You reduce child poverty by almost 50%. You give extended health insurance. You pay for their COBRA. Inefficient, but in terms of the receipts, in terms of the receiver, it's a good thing. You do all these good things, and you say that you're going to cut your debt from college, which is going to impact, like in terms of the adult population, I don't know, a fifth, more, a quarter of the adult population in this country. And then all the support goes away. The debt relief never materializes. And you've got this mixed message of Republicans are really bad, except for, we're going to let them, basically prevent you from getting what, we say that you should get. It's incoherent. It's a mess. And the idea to create this sense of nihilism where it's like, let's just roll the dice and see what happens. Shake things up. Disruptors.
That's Trump's greatest accomplishment, I think, is creating a political environment in which basically nothing matters. It benefits folks like this. And
he's eating food left on the table by Democrats. At any point in history that it's the Republican Party that needs to get into the FBI and say, hey, there's some bad stuff going on here. I mean, it's not just the 60s and 70s. Literally, like the main activity of the FBI, like look at what's going on in Minneapolis FBI office. A guy just going to mosque after mosque, surveilling everybody. And the Democrats spent the last 8 years being like, actually, they're going to save us.
Has never been a single Democrat who has head the FBI. So it's like, if you ignore this problem and you keep saying we're going to find the reasonable Republican to run the FBI, and you do not take, I would be surprised if there's been how many Democrats have run the CIA or the Department of Defense, for that matter. Probably a few more on the Department of Defense. But you've got to address it. You can't keep letting this stuff metastasize, because at one point, this is true of wealth inequality. This is true of campaign finance. This is true of, a whole host of things. Obama was very slack when it came to putting judges on the bench, and the ones that he did were garbage, largely relative to, let's say, even what was possible even under Biden. So, this stuff metastasizes, and this is what you get.
Be nice if it just went away.
Yes, but they don't. Things don't. Things do not just go away. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.